Yes. Uh-huh. Showing ill will or desire to harm. Antagonistic, unfriendly. Yeah. The hostile act, the act of hostility. Yes. Now, I think that there's probably something there. I mean, when you arrest somebody and you know they didn't commit any crimes, yeah, that would be considered an act of hostility, wouldn't it? Yes. And then you make up a two-count criminal complaint that allegedly happened on June 16th of 2017. Yeah, that would be hostile. And then you refuse to exonerate me. Yes, that would be hostile. Oh, and then you use mental health evaluations. Seems like there's a lot of hostility in law enforcement. Now, this individual that's employed at 1023 Kitchen Dick Road, yes. They wanted me to get angry, didn't they? Antagonistic, unfriendly. Is it antagonizing to use the image of my sister Susan when she is not the actual mother of Legina? Yes. Is Mike antagonistic? Pooch. So as to cause ill will or a desire to harm. Now, I'm sure Mike's going to have a reason for this, but the idea that you're going to send court notices to the antagonistic, hostile individual that turned the electricity off on me in the middle of winter? Yes. And kept all my personal items, my passport, my wedding ring, all the documents that I had shipped from Guam, everything I owned except for the suitcase that I took to my grandmother's. And then when I contact them and I say I love Marilyn, yes, he sends me a text message that is antagonistic. Yes, I'm going to have you arrested if you contact myself or Marilyn again. Yes, it's an act of hostility. See, Mike had the availability right now of being very hostile to me. Yes. Now, if I found out that he actually paid somebody to make sure that you kept sending these court notices, yes, you participated in the act of hostility. Boop. Now, let's say I wasn't in Brennan. Yes. And you have the videos from June 16th of 2017? Yes. It's an act of hostility to refuse to admit the evidence. Oh. And Judge Landis? Yes. I asked you to read the protection order. Yes. And did you see that the petitioner didn't sign it? Yeah. Why'd they issue it? Poop. Was it an act of hostility to obligate me to go to court hearings? Yes. Where you did know I wasn't there? Yes. And I didn't commit any crime? So that you would obstruct me from getting my sons? Oh, are you sure they're not being held hostage? Yes. And then this whole idea of dismissing the case, yes, because I was found incompetent by the state of Washington, Phyllis? Yes. Carol? When I wasn't in Brennan? Yes. I wasn't in Swim? Yeah. 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 Are you sure that's not a hostile act on the part of the court? Yes. To issue dismissals where you say the individual's incompetent? Yes. When you wouldn't admit the evidence that I didn't commit the crime? Poop. Mm. Now, it looks like this state is very hostile to the enforcement of the laws. Now, I know I will include the other states, but I just wanted to know, Christy Miller, pop! I thought it was coercion, yes. But then I look here, is it your dog that's hostile or is Christy Miller hostile? Yes. And then there's Commissioner Brent Basden, pooh, the president of the Mormon Church. I had a business partner, really, we were in the Peninsula Daily News together. Yes. When I first moved to 224 West Washington Street, there was a bishop in the Mormon church, yes, named Steve Holloway. You remember that Wolfley? Attorney Wolfley in Port Angeles. He was very hostile to me moving, but I thought it was best that we moved to Vancouver so that Jessica could go to the Washington State School for the Blind. Yes. And I did have an audit. You remember that, Finra? Where you decided that you would visit me, one of these really small brokers that work for Horowitz and Associates. Yes. And they would be hostile to me because they wanted my book of business. Right. But I don't really like it when you do this type. Mm. Are you hostile? You know, I I've had a lifetime of this, haven't I? Or Valerie Amburn, as a personal favor. Isn't that right, Crystal Pennington? Pooch. Now, visited with me, yes, at that actual office. Mm. And then she sat on the case for about, 5 to 6 months until I finally gave all the clients back to Washington Mutual. And then some of them I gave to Brett Keane, yes, that was with AIG, yes, American Insurance Group, yeah. We moved to Vancouver that Jessica could go to Washington State School for the Blind, right? And then eventually I just had to give away the whole business, right, and start something new. Now, I've noticed that Horowitz was hostile. They did not like it that I had transferred out all my clients right before I resigned. Yes. And then one day after the 2 years of me being done with Horowitz, because there's this 2 year period from the time that you're no longer employed to the time that I received the complaint from FINRA from Shannon Miller. You remember that stole, and burn? Where for some reason FINRA, yes, did not obligate the enforcement of the rules of arbitration. Pooch! Now, as we remember at Keith Ketterling, yes, and Valerie Amber, poof, and then well, it seems that nobody enforces the actual rules, the laws, or the obligations of law enforcement. Now, it could have been, yes, that Doug and Sandy did know my stepfather and my soon to be imprisoned mother. Yes. And Horowitz did know, yes, they could be hostile without ever admitting any guilt. And then FINRA could be hostile because, $150 billion. You remember that, FINRA? Why don't you get me all the employees of the SEC, FINRA, the FDIC, and all of those that I emailed about the hostility against American citizens? For every time that you decided to lay the snare, yeah, you're going to get him this time. I'm going to sue every employee of FINRA. Pooh, catch him. Then there was Mary Shapiro that used to be the chairman. Yes. Why don't you get me all the employees of FINRA and the SEC? Now we're looking at the hostility. Yes. How many brokers ever have a personal visit, right, from FINRA to audit them? Yes. After Crystal Pennington visited myself, my wife, and our little boys, yes, in Sequim, Washington. You remember the Domino's pizza? Thinking of Crystal Pennington, there's a possibility that she could have been in the top secret family. She had a little drinking problem. A lot of those that have lizards in their asses, they seem to have an obligation to self-medicate because of the thoughts that they experience. Shush, shush. Did my wife ever put a lizard in her ass? I mean, was she in that top secret family where she would cough up the money? Now, thinking of Uncle Wally is possible. Yes, yes. And then there was her biological father, DeWitt, yeah, from Georgia. Did Well, he drank a lot and he smoked too much. And now, just thinking of it, her conception, she wasn't lizard conceived, was she?